Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this international discussion in such an unprecedented context. For those of us who don't know us, QA is the UK's independent, not-for-profit higher education quality agency. We're the only body recognised to assess the standards and quality of UK universities and are trusted and recognised by governments in all four nations of the UK, working in partnership with funders and regulators. We also work internationally to help address shared challenges to quality and standards. We provide a range of bespoke capacity building and advisory services to universities, government bodies, and quality assurance agencies across the world to enable them to enhance their approach to quality assurance. It's within this context that we've been working to support the sector through the pandemic, working collaboratively to provide guidance for our members as well as the wider higher education community. COVID-19 has had a fundamental impact on higher education across the globe, resulting in a dramatic and rapid move to remote methods of learning, teaching, and assessment. It is hard to overstate the extraordinary effort by the higher education community across the world that this has represented. It was not only performed quickly and under extreme pressure, but it also accelerated change, bringing forward strategic plans and instigating new ways of working. Quality assurance agencies across the world have needed to review and amend their approaches to meet the sudden changing needs of the sectors that they serve. In the UK, at the Quality Assurance Agency, we have adapted our own approaches and worked in partnerships with the higher education sector in the UK and internationally to meet the challenges that COVID-19 has created. We've had to move all of our work online. Some of our review responsibilities were paused in line with regulatory requirements. Others have been adapted to operate virtually, particularly where restrictions on travel are in place. We internally formed a cross-organisational working group to ensure consistency across all of our review work and liaise with the different regulators and governments. Our International Partners Forum met to share experiences of organisations' responses to COVID-19 and had over 50 attendees from more than 20 countries. So we were able to publish international examples of practice, which fed directly into providers' responses here in the UK. We've seen how in many jurisdictions, quality assurance agencies, governments and providers have rethought and refocused their approaches so that they can deliver education safely. Not only so that it's safe for staff and students now, but also so that it's sustainable and is resilient to future shocks. Many agencies and institutions are reporting that they intend to take forward some of the new practices and learnings they've experienced in the wake of these adaptations. So today we want to explore some of the lessons learned from this experience. We have a great panel of senior leaders with us and we'll hear from them about their perspective. It's a pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Abdulatif Al-Shamsi, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Higher Education Colleges of Technology in the United Arab Emirates. We have a strong partnership with HTT and I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Al-Shamsi in Washington at the 2020 CHIA conference. It was probably one of the last international visits I was able to have before the pandemic. The longest visits I do now are to the kitchen and back. So first of all, let's introduce Dr. Al-Shamsi. Thank you, and over to you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this event. And I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Times Higher Education and QAA for organizing MENA University's summit and to be part of this panel discussion. What I would like to talk to you about today is the quality assurance during the global pandemic 2020 in the higher colleges of technology, and what I would share with you how the transition during this pandemic happened for the HCT and what made HCT today meeting the quality assurance requirements during this pandemic. The Higher Colleges of Technology is the largest higher education institution in the United Arab Emirates. We have more than 23,000 students and located in 16 different campuses and established since 1988, and we have already graduated more than 81,000 credentials. Just to tell you quickly about the pandemic in summary, in March 2020, we have completely transformed to be online. And during that time, we had a rapid transformation for the 16 campuses with the 23,000 students to go online. We launched in parallel to that a DigiCampus. So it's not only about classes that we deliver online, but it was also important to us that students' activities, the extracurricular activities, to be conducted online as well. And we have more than 700 activities conducted by that time. We have reached more than 1.6 million online teaching hours only was during the period of the 2 months, once in March to May. And we went live online classes with 61,000 online classes during that period. And not only that, we have also conducted the online exams for more than 115,000 online exams and assessment were conducted. Online education and the DigiCampus, showing in this slide there are some numbers associated with it, with 1.4 million hours of classes. And again, this is during the months of March and May. And with this many 61,000 lectures, 115 online assessment, 21,000 online hours. It was important to provide this many hours for our faculty and to prepare them for the online classes. And with this many activities that was running during the DigiCampus, we are also proud that even the practice that we have introduced was published in the International Journal of Higher Education back in July, to perceive how do we handle the COVID-19 outbreak. And not only that, but also to move forward and to put ideas for what's next in terms of the hybrid education and what's the new norm that will be introduced with the COVID-19. Of course, all of our programs, even during that period of time, we're meeting the highest level of accreditation in terms of the quality assurance at the national and international level. So all of our programs locally are accredited, but also we are proud that we are also recognized and accredited by the QAA, the Quality Assurance Agency in the UK, and all of our programs have met those requirements. And as part of the recognition, in fact, also we were recognized as a quality assurance recognition by CHIA. That was in the early 2020. And this was one of the key recognition of our program that's meeting the quality assurance that is needed. Also, we were recognized as the best technology educators by CFI, and also by the Emirates Award. We are the best higher education institution in the country that deliver a high quality e-learning. And also as a Catalyst Award by Blackboard, we were recognized in 2020 by providing the highest and the largest number of PD hours for our faculty and to be prepared more for online. And always health and safety measures is the number one for our and priority for our students, for our faculty and for our staff. That's why also we were recognized by ROSBA Gold Award for our programs. It is important for us that we meet the quality assurance requirements, and that's why we are always using the highest standards of accreditation requirements, and we're meeting those requirements, and that's why we are very proud and we value the relationship we have today with QAA as a model of collaborative, sustainable and fruitful partnership. And this is to ensure that the quality of the key function processes are being addressed and exist for the future quality related to the challenges. So, in brief, I was happy to present to you what HCT measures have been taken to meet the pandemic during this transformation of the online, but also not on the expense of the quality outcomes that we have to meet at the highest level. So we met the quality assurance requirements, we met the accreditation requirements, and we did not discontinue education for our students or disadvantage our students because of the COVID-19 outbreak. And our students are enjoying this journey of online. And in fact, what I would like to conclude with, the new concept of online and on campus, which we call it a hybrid education model. It's a model that is going to stay for us, even post-COVID-19, because we found many ways today that we can deliver our instruction at the very high quality, meeting the international accreditation requirements and the local accreditation requirement, yet making education more fun, entertaining, for the Z generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Shamsi. What is fascinating about perspectives like this is that although each institution and indeed quality agencies are in their own unique operating environments and remits, there's a real commonality of challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, such as professional development, online assessment, and providing extracurricular activities remotely, which have just been highlighted by Dr. Al-Shamsi. Our next speaker is Dr. Suhail Badiamal, Chief Executive of NCAAA in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. QAA has been working with NCAAA for over 10 years, and I'm in frequent contact with Dr. Badiamal. Like QAA, the NCAAA has had to adopt its approach through the global pandemic, and it's going to be fascinating to hear how Saudi Arabia has managed quality assurance in these difficult times. So let me hand over to Dr. Badiamal.
Hi, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great honor to be with you in this QAA session in the Times Higher Education MENA University Summit. And I'd like to thank the QAA for the invitation. My name is Suhail Badiamal. I'm the CEO of the National Center for Academic Accreditation and Evaluation in Saudi Arabia. In the coming 5 minutes, I will take you through a very quick journey over what we have done in terms of quality assurance of higher education in Saudi Arabia during and post COVID-19. I will be talking about these 4 initiatives or projects that we have implemented to support higher education institutions in Saudi. The Education and Training Evaluation Commission is a financially and administratively autonomous entity that reports directly to the Prime Minister. ETIC spans the K-12 higher education, vocational training, as well as a National Center of Assessment, and it has an independent board of directors to ensure transparency and autonomy of its decisions. The National Center for Academic Accreditation and Evaluation, or NCAAA, is the only entity in Saudi Arabia responsible for academic accreditation and quality assurance of all disciplines of higher education in Saudi Arabia. And it's an independent entity of the academic institutions. Back in February 2020, we were faced with these challenges, which are similar to the challenges faced by most academic accreditation around the world. We were uncertain regarding the duration of the crisis, the magnitude of the crisis, the different maturity of the higher education institutions and the programs. Internally, we immediately established the crisis management team, and we initiated the business continuity plan. We switched immediately to remote work, but we had lots of projects going on back then, such as accreditation visits, self-study reports. We had to pause all of that and rethink regarding the next steps, whether we would delay all of the conventional accreditation visits till the pandemic is over, or should we switch to alternative options? These are examples of the projects that we have conducted to help and support higher education institutions. I will start with the first one, which was the standardized university admission test. These tests were conducted by the Qiyas Center, or the National Center for Assessment, for the past 15 years, and they are very important for the universities to help them in admitting for the student admission. So ETIC has conducted these due to the pandemic. They conducted them through online artificial intelligence equipped solution for 65% of the students. And then when the pandemic eased up a little bit, we implemented 35% of those in the testing centers. The second project was a nationwide COVID-19 impact on education study, and it included the K-12 higher education and vocational training. These are some of the numbers regarding the higher education study. We surveyed more than 27,000 students, more than 9,000 faculty. We interviewed more than 140 faculty and leaders in the universities. We reviewed documents. So it was a mixed method, quantitative and qualitative study to go into the details of what happened, what went well, things to improve, and future directions. The third project, as I mentioned earlier, was should we delay and cancel all the conventional accreditation visits, or should we switch to alternative options? We went through a very systematic and scientific way to reach this conclusion. We started with the planning phase, where we conducted a very detailed situation analysis, the pros and cons of delaying or canceling the visits, or the pros and cons of switching to a virtual hybrid visits, and the impact of both options. So it was a very detailed risk analysis of all available options. We did as well a very detailed international scan, which were available back then, and we continuously followed what's happening around the world in terms of recommendations, lessons learned, whether at the planning phase, the implementation phase, or the quality assurance phase for the accreditation visits. These were helpful for us to draft our policies and procedures. We assessed as well the readiness and the willingness of the institutions to have virtual accreditation visits, and these are some of the very assuring numbers. For the policies and procedures, we use the exact general policies for accreditation visits. However, we added additional virtual policies and procedures. We gave the freedom for the chair of the review panel to ask for on-demand on-site visits, as well as detailed the procedure manual. These are examples of the comparison between the conventional and the hybrid virtual visits, where you could see that with the hybrid virtual visits, there were additional procedures and policies to ensure the validity and reliability of these visits. These are some of the additional policies, as I mentioned earlier. Then we had to go through multiple layers of approval through the advisory committee, the executive committee, and then the board of directors, which was finally approved. We piloted the virtual visits. So we had a very extensive orientation for the reviewers and the institutions, and then we executed these visits. These are the numbers for the academic year from September till April. We conducted 163 virtual visits, more than 1,000 reviewers, and more than 3,000 contact hours. We continuously monitor and evaluate these virtual visits through focus groups, questionnaires, as well as interim report and final report. Finally, this is the future direction. We have updated our accreditation standards specifically for the distance education and e-learning. We have 2 phases of provisional accreditation and programmatic accreditation, and these are available on the websites of ethic.gov.sa. Finally, I would like to thank all the 68 higher education institutions for their collaboration and understanding and support throughout these challenging times of COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Bajamal, for that insight into the innovative and comprehensive approach that the NCAAA has adopted to quality assurance during the pandemic, including, I think, the importance of student feedback in shaping responses. So now we have a question and answer session, and I wanted to open with a question to both Dr. Al-Shamsi and Dr. Bajamal in turn. What are the challenges around academic integrity with online learning and assessment? And what can institutions and quality bodies do to ensure that we protect academic integrity? Perhaps if we start with Dr. Al-Shamsi.
Yes, thank you, Douglas, for this important question. It's good to be among this esteemed panel and to discuss about the pandemic impact on our education system. When we talk about education, definitely we have two big parts of it: is the delivery of instruction part and the assessment part. Now we have reached a level of comfort among our faculty in delivering our instructions because of the use of the online. And we all know today that the pedagogy of using different tools for delivering instructions is very different from face-to-face. But when it comes to assessment, although we have piloted many different approaches and we're trying to explore different ways of assessing our students' learning outcomes, it's still a challenging way. In a sense, to convert toward more of a skill-based competency measures rather than just a knowledge-based. Because if we do the traditional way of assessing our students through online, we know it does not work. We know how challenging it is. Our students are more into the technology. They use different resources. Accessing information is much easier. So with higher colleges of technology, because we're still in the piloting phase when it comes to assessment tools and how effective those assessment tools we use to measure the learning outcomes, we still insist in bringing back students to our campus to conduct those assessments. So in HCT, we look at our education system is more of a hybrid. Mostly it's an online for delivering instructions where our faculty are more comfortable, our students are more engaging with the instructions way of following, and we can do like small type of assessment during those sessions. But for major assessment that needed toward the end of the term, for example, whether it's a presentation or it's a written assessment or any ways that we think about it, we think it's more important to bring our students nowadays to conduct those assessments until we're still exploring different tools of using online assessment until we have an integrity and reliability of those assessments, then it will become more of an online system in the future.
Thank you. And Dr. Bajamal?
Thanks, Douglas. I agree with what Dr. Shamsi has just mentioned. Probably I would see this challenge, the COVID pandemic challenge, where it has forced many institutions to embark on e-learning and really embrace the e-learning concept. We know that there were different I would say penetration of e-learning across different countries. I think the pandemic right now is stimulating institutions to innovate into their assessment methodology. I've explained in the presentation what ETIC as a national entity for high stakes exams has implemented the artificial intelligence equipped solution. However, we're seeing different as the National Quality Assurance Agency, we're seeing different universities and colleges coming up with what we have been calling for in the past, and we're pushing universities to use, to diversify their assessment method. I think now that the COVID-19 pandemic really stimulated universities to use artificial intelligence or work-based assessment, more diversity of the assessment method rather than the classical MCQs and essays questions. So we're seeing this clearly in many institutions in Saudi Arabia.
And the COVID-19 pandemic has brought a human tragedy on a massive scale. But there's a lot of change, and you highlighted some aspects there, Sohail. What do you think are the long-lasting and positive aspects about the shift to whether it's online, digital, blended, hybrid approaches?
I'm seeing this at the student level as well as the institutional level and at the national quality assurance level. At the student level, I think now students really and the family, they're becoming more involved, more student-centered, and they are aware now that they need to be more responsible for their learning. The institutions. They are investing now more in faculty development and e-learning. They are really thinking on the flipped classroom concepts and really utilizing the best time of the in-class for hands-on experiences. And at the higher education level, at the quality assurance level, we are really thinking in terms of how can we integrate that into the internal quality assurance system of the universities? How can we streamline our quality assurance activities to make it part of the daily work of the universities rather than an artificial process or an extra efforts by the university to be conducted. So the impact is tremendous across all segments of the ecosystem of higher education.
Thank you. And Abdul Latif, what about from an institution perspective? What are these long-lasting and positive changes that have arisen?
I strongly believe, I think COVID-19 had made a global impact on all the societies, but for us as educators, it gave us a golden opportunity to rethink education. We've been advocating for the past 20, 30 years about changing, introducing a new technology for the Z generation. How do we make learning more exciting for our youngster? But unfortunately, we still deliver our instruction the traditional way. I think COVID-19 have given us an opportunity to accelerate and pilot many of the new innovative ways of delivering instructions. How can we make learning more fun for our youth? How do we integrate technology more effectively and efficiently in our education system? And absolutely what we have benefited during this year of COVID-19 and the online have really made us more prepared for the future. I think the way the next, not 50 years, the next 5 years, we're going to see a major trend in our education system. Online is going to stay. We're not going to go back the way we were teaching just a year ago. It's going to be an integrated part of our education system simply because it is more exciting, it is more fun for our students and for our faculty, and it is more convenient. Today, when we have our students, for example, have the convenience to receive their instructions while they are in bed or in their pajamas and having their faculty right in front of them on their screen, sitting in a Starbucks, for example, in any place, they're still enjoying their time, but they're learning and they're still benefiting from it. So I think those kind of benefits will continue with us. So what we are moving toward more of a hybrid learning model, where we need to bring our students to our campuses, but not 5 days a week, could be a couple of days a week, to do, for example, hands-on training, workshops, lab work, even for social gather activities, extracurriculars. Those kind of activities campuses will remain for, but our classrooms will become more and more virtual, and it is more available for our students, and it is more convenient for them. So the way we think for the next 5 years, we're going to see a quantum leap in our education system, something we are, for the Z generation, are more desperate of. Something make more learning fun and excitement for them. And that is going to impact our campuses. We need to re-engineer our campuses. We want to make our campuses more social gather, more activities, more engaging, and more excitement for students to come to campus for those additional benefits. But yet, the traditional delivery of instructions will continue online. We bring them for assessment, could be for those kind of activities. So the hybrid model concept will evolve more and more. Now, when we say hybrid, always the question is what percentage, how much, that will definitely differ from one major to another, one specialization to another. It could be between 50-50 to 30-70. You still need in every class, every subject we deliver, it will be a possibility. Again, this is all into the higher education system. And the general education, there's a lot of issues associated with that. But I think in the higher education, we are in a very good situation to revamp, to rethink our education system. But we need to align our quality to be integrated part to ensure we still maintain the outcome. So I think that's how we look at the future of our learning system.
Thank you very much. Incredibly, we're out of time already. I think you touched there on some really important aspects of preserving the community aspect of higher education, and Sohail, the innovation and quality assurance and the role that agencies can play to support institutions. Well, I wish we had another hour at least to discuss that. Thank you to everyone for joining us in this conversation today. We've just started scratching the surface, and I think we'd look for further opportunities to engage in debate and discussion. I hope that you've enjoyed it, you've found it stimulating. And if you want to know anything more about the work of QAA, just simply go to our website, qaa.ac.uk/international. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to our host from Times Higher for putting this event on for us today.